lost my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
Join me on Patreon to watch up to 5 episodes of this series and others in advance that are live right now. With that said, enjoy. The Marine ship sliced through the dark blue waves, gliding steadily toward Impel Down, the most feared prison in the seas. The salty wind howled across the deck as 3 unlikely travelers, Luffy, Hancock, and Goku, made their way closer to their dangerous destination. Luffy had managed to sneak aboard without being detected, hiding away with his usual carefree grin. Goku, however, had taken a more direct approach, pretending to be a captured prisoner to ensure he'd get inside undisturbed. Now, the 3 only had to wait a few days before the fortress prison came into view. "Let that be a lesson, dimwit," Hancock snapped, towering over a trembling Marine who was face down on the wooden deck. "My meals should weigh at least 100 kilograms. Anything less, and I'll petrify you all. Do you want that to happen?" She arched her back gracefully, her chin tilted high with that queenly arrogance only the pirate empress could wield. No! Our deepest apologies, Lady Hancock. It won't happen again," the Marines cried, bowing repeatedly in terror. "Good," Hancock replied, flicking her hair over her shoulder with pride. She turned back toward Luffy and smiled softly. "Eat up, Luffy. You're going to need all your strength if you want to rescue your brother." The sight in front of him was heaven, piles upon piles of food, steaming and fresh. Luffy's eyes sparkled like stars. "Man, this stuff's amazing. And this Sea King ham? It's so good it makes everything else taste better," he said, shoving handfuls of food into his mouth at lightning speed. In the corner, Hancock sat quietly, her expression distant. Luffy looked up mid-bite. "Hey, what are you doing over there? You're not gonna eat? This Sea King ham is insane," he mumbled, cheeks puffed with food. I'm fine," she said softly, avoiding his gaze. "Somehow, I feel full already." Her thoughts were elsewhere, on Goku. She couldn't stop wondering how he was doing. Was he all right? Was he being treated well? The thought of him locked away made her heart ache. Meanwhile, Goku was doing surprisingly well. Inside his cold iron cage below deck, he sat cross-legged, his eyes closed, his breathing calm and deep. He was meditating, a technique he'd learned long ago from Kami. It helped him keep his spirit in harmony even in the harshest places. Each day, the Marines tossed him scraps of food, barely enough for a normal man, but Goku didn't mind. Hunger was nothing new to him. Still, the cramped cell made it impossible for him to sit still for long. When the Marines weren't looking, he'd quietly stretch and train, practicing slow, silent movements. And whenever footsteps echoed down the hallway, he'd curl up in the corner, pretending he hadn't moved at all. One Marine sneered through the bars. "Stupid pirate filth! You think this is bad? Just wait till we get to Impel Down. You'll rot there for the rest of your miserable life." Goku stayed quiet, his eyes calm. He didn't react, not yet. Once the Marine left, Goku smiled faintly and whispered, "Guess I'll just have to get stronger before then." He went right back to training, his muscles moving with quiet precision. "Woo! I'm stuffed!" Luffy shouted from across the room, rubbing his swollen belly. "That was so good!" Hancock froze, her face going pale. "Luffy, keep your voice down. You're supposed to be a stowaway," she hissed, waving her arms in panic. Knock, knock, knock. "Lady Hancock? Is someone in there with you?" A Marine called from outside. "Are you sure you heard that right, Junior Lieutenant?" Another Marine asked. "Yes, sir. I definitely heard, 'Woo, I'm stuffed,' from inside. Doesn't sound like something an empress would say." The door suddenly swung open. Hancock stood tall in the doorway, holding a tray piled high with empty plates. "Woo, I'm stuffed," she said proudly, her eyes closed in mock satisfaction. The Marine's jaws dropped to the floor. "Take these away," she said casually, handing over the tray, "and bring me this same amount of food 5 times a day." 5 times? They stammered. "At that rate, we'll run out of food before reaching Impel Down." Hancock turned and smirked. "Do I look like I care?" As she walked away, the Marines whispered among themselves, starstruck. "She's terrifying, but she's so beautiful." 6 days remained until Ace's execution. The world was on edge. Whitebeard's forces were already causing chaos, sinking Marine ships left and right. The Marine headquarters was preparing for war, the kind that would shake the seas themselves. Every powerful fighter who stood for justice was being summoned. Even the Shichibukai were gathering for their own battle conference. 4 days later, the Marine ship finally reached the massive iron gates of Impel Down. "Hancock, we've arrived," a Marine shouted from outside her door. "There are way more ships here than before," Luffy whispered. "Quickly, Luffy." "You need to hide," Hancock urged. Luffy nodded and quickly slipped into her robes, vanishing from sight. She stepped out gracefully, her regal aura returning as she joined the other soldiers waiting to escort her. Behind her, Marines dragged a battered Goku down the ramp. His clothes were torn, his face bruised, but his eyes were calm, defiant even. They tossed him onto the hard stone ground like garbage, laughing as they did. Hancock's heart dropped at the sight. She almost ran to him, but Goku caught her eye and gave a small shake of his head. "Don't. Take this trash to the prison," the general sneered. Then, with a cruel grin, he slapped Goku across the face, sending him sliding across the deck. "Ha! Look at this weakling," another Marine jeered. "This is the guy who thought he could take on a general?" They kicked him again, pinning him down and beating him until blood ran down his cheek. Still, Goku didn't fight back. He just grit his teeth and endured it, his calm never fading. Hancock turned away, trembling. She couldn't bear to see it, the man she admired being humiliated like that. "Enough," barked the general finally. "He's learned his lesson. Take him away." 2 Marines grabbed Goku by the arms, dragging him off toward the prison gates. His body was bloodied, but his spirit was unbroken. In 33 hours, Ace's public execution would begin. The heavy iron door slammed shut behind him with a deafening clang. Goku had been thrown into a damp, shadowy cell, the air thick with despair and salt. The floor was cold, the scent of rust and sea mixed together. Unknown to him, the man locked in the next cell was none other than Portgas D. Ace. For a long while, Goku sat quietly, cross-legged in meditation. The silence of the prison was broken only by the distant echo of waves and muffled screams from deeper below. Then, a voice came from the cell beside him. "So, what are you in for?" The voice was calm but carried a weight, like someone who'd already accepted his fate. Goku opened his eyes, unsure how to respond. He couldn't risk giving away their plan. If the Marines found out, everything would fall apart. I was just fighting some people called the Shichibukai," he said, hoping it sounded casual enough. There was a pause, followed by a low chuckle. "You fought a Shichibukai, huh?" "Not bad, man. Not bad at all." Goku smiled faintly. He was about to ask who the voice belonged to when the sound of boots echoed through the corridor. The cell doors rattled open and Boa Hancock, flanked by several guards, entered the room with her usual regal grace. "Portgas D. Ace, you have a visitor?" a Marine commander barked. Goku blinked, shocked. Ace? He hadn't realized the man he'd been talking to was Luffy's brother. Hancock's eyes flickered briefly toward Goku, but she said nothing. Her composure remained perfect as she turned to face Ace's cell. "What do you want with me?" Ace asked, his tone steady but laced with bitterness. "I have no business with you," Hancock said quietly, her expression unreadable. "I only wish to see you for myself, the man who will be the spark that ignites the battle I'm destined to join." Her words were calm, almost sorrowful. When she finished, she turned to leave. "I have concluded my business here," she said, walking past Goku without another word. When the guards left, Goku leaned closer to the bars separating them. "Hey, what did she say to you?" Ace exhaled, his eyes fixed on the stone wall. "She said my brother's here." Goku's face softened into a grin. He made it, huh? That's good news. He leaned back against the cold metal bars and thought to himself, all right, now all I've got to do is wait for Luffy to show up. Once Ace is safe, I'll go find the strongest fighters here. Meanwhile, Luffy was racing through the twisting halls of Impel Down, crashing through door after door, fighting guards and monsters alike. Where are you, Ace? He shouted as alarms blared. Each level he searched brought new horrors. Fiery torture chambers, icy wastelands, beasts from nightmares. But Ace was nowhere in sight. Finally, a whisper reached his ears from one of the prisoners. He's in the lowest level, the deepest chamber. Hang on, Ace, I'm coming, Luffy roared, launching himself forward. 33 hours later, the time of Ace's execution had arrived. Goku sat against the cold bars of his cell, his mind uneasy. Where's Luffy? He muttered. He should have been here hours ago. Chains rattled as Marines came to drag Ace away. Goku clenched his fists helplessly. He wanted to stop them, but he was weak from starvation and the constant drain of his strength. His spirit was still fierce, but his body had reached its limit. Then, an hour later, the prison doors exploded open in a thunderous crash. Gomu Gomu, no pistol! The wall shattered into rubble as Luffy stormed in, an army of prisoners behind him. Ace, he screamed. Goku smiled faintly. He made it! Luffy punched the wall in frustration. No, I was too late, he yelled, slamming his fist so hard the wall caved in, forming a crater. Here, take this, stranger, a freed prisoner called, sliding food through Goku's cell bars. You look like you need it more than us. Thanks, Goku said with a nod. He devoured the food in seconds, feeling his power flicker back to life. His aura pulsed faintly. The metal cuffs around his wrists began to tremble. With a grunt, Goku flexed, and the sea stone shackles shattered into fragments. What the? A pirate gasped. He just broke sea stone. That's impossible. They all stared in disbelief, thinking he must be a devil fruit user. But Luffy didn't care. He knew better. Where's the nearest exit? Luffy demanded. They blocked everyone. We're trapped, someone yelled back. Damn it! Luffy slammed his fist again. Goku stepped up beside him, resting a hand on his shoulder. His expression was calm and confident. Luffy, do you trust me? Luffy blinked, then nodded without hesitation. Of course I do. Good, Goku said with a smile. Everyone, grab on. The prisoners linked arms, clinging to each other as Goku pressed 2 fingers to his forehead. He focused, feeling through the vast ocean of energy until there, a massive surge of power, dozens of strong presences in one place. Hold tight! In an instant, the prison vanished. They reappeared in the middle of Marineford, the place where Ace's execution was about to begin. The tension in the air was suffocating. Marines lined the fortress walls. Pirates filled the bay. Whitebeard and his crew stood tall, their presence alone shaking the world. The final battle was about to erupt. Goku took to the skies, hiding among the clouds for the right moment to strike. Then, boom! A single gunshot echoed. The war had begun. All around, chaos exploded, Marines and pirates clashing in a storm of fury. Cannon fire lit up the air, and the ground trembled under the weight of their attacks. Goku's eyes darted around, watching the incredible power on both sides. Below, Boa Hancock spun through the chaos, her kicks like lightning, as she knocked out both pirates and Marines alike with unmatched grace. Still amazing as ever, Goku said with a grin. He turned his gaze and spotted Luffy charging through the battlefield, knocking away soldiers with rubber fists. Get out of my way, Luffy shouted, smashing Marines aside as he sprinted toward the execution platform where Ace was chained. Goku took a deep breath. Guess now's the time. He dove from the sky, crashing into the ground with such force that the earth quaked beneath him. Dust exploded outward as hundreds of Marines surrounded him. In an instant, Goku vanished, his speed blurring into streaks of motion. Marines fell left and right, collapsing as Goku struck their pressure points, paralyzing them without killing a single one. Then, through the chaos, a white-haired man with 2 cigars clenched between his teeth stepped forward. Smoker. "You must be new here," Smoker growled, pulling out his jitta. "You won't last long." He lunged. Goku leapt into the air, flipping over the blade. As he came down, he swung his fist, but it passed right through Smoker's body, scattering him into vapor. Why didn't that hurt you?" Goku said, eyes wide. Smoker smirked, his body reforming into swirling clouds. "Fool, I'm made of smoke. Your punches are useless against me. Nothing can hurt what you can't touch." He charged again, his weapon slicing through the air in rapid strikes. Goku dodged gracefully, reading every move, searching for a weakness. "If I don't figure him out soon, I'll lose my shot at the strongest fighters here," Goku thought, darting backward through the haze. Then he sensed it. A flicker in Smoker's energy, a moment where his body solidified just enough. As Smoker lifted his weapon for a finishing blow, Goku's eyes sharpened. He shot forward, his fist glowing with a brilliant white aura. Smoker's eyes widened. Crack! The punch connected, solid and real, slamming into his gut with devastating force. The smoke shattered apart like glass as Smoker gasped in pain, coughing and stumbling back, his eyes filled with shock. Smoker dropped to his knees, coughing as wisps of smoke rose from his body. His eyes widened, confusion flashing across his face. "What did you do?" he gasped, his voice trembling as he looked up at Goku. Goku clenched his glowing fist and smiled lightly. "You said my attacks were weak, right? So, I had the clever idea of condensing part of my power into my fist. Looks like it worked better than I thought." Smoker's eyes widened further, his mind racing. Does this man have Busoshoku Haki? Before he could even form the words, Goku's 2 fingers tapped a precise point on his neck. Pressure point strike. Smoker's body went limp, collapsing onto the ground. "Sorry," Goku said sincerely as he straightened up. "I'd love to fight you again sometime, but right now, I've got to find the strongest fighters here." In a flash, Goku vanished, his golden aura sparking faintly around him as he soared through the air toward the heart of the battlefield. He rose high above Marineford's massive plaza, floating effortlessly amid the smoke and cannon fire. Below him, thousands of Marines and pirates clashed, their roars echoing like thunder. From up here, he could see everything: the destruction, the chaos, and, in the distance, the execution platform. 2 old men stood on the stand above Ace, who sat chained and bruised. The older one with the seagull hat looked up first, his sharp eyes locking on the figure descending from the clouds. The sight of the spiky-haired warrior hovering above them made both men freeze. Goku lowered himself calmly, stopping mid-air between them and the sky. He raised a hand and waved with a warm grin. "Hi there!" The seagull-hatted man frowned. "Who are you?" "You're not one of Whitebeard's men." The gray-haired man beside Ace stood abruptly, eyes narrowing. "My name's Goku," he said simply, "and I'd like to ask you, please don't kill Ace." For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Even the fighting below seemed to slow. "I know he's done some bad things," Goku continued, voice steady and sincere, "but everyone deserves a second chance. If you look around." Suddenly, his senses screamed. Goku backflipped midair just as a blinding flash of golden light exploded where he had been floating. The light condensed into the form of a tall man in a yellow coat. His leg extended from a devastating kick that barely missed. That wasn't a normal kick, Goku thought, eyes widening. I could barely see it? "Kizaru," the fleet admiral said coldly from the platform. "Ooh!" the man in yellow drawled lazily. "You dodged my kick." "How scary." Goku hovered, studying him with curiosity. Then he turned back toward the admiral on the stand. "Please, we can end all this fighting if you just let Ace live. Look at all the people risking everything for him." He pointed back toward the chaotic battlefield, where pirates and marines were locked in deadly combat. When he turned back, Kizaru was gone. There, Goku spun to the right, raising his arm just in time to block a blindingly fast kick. The impact cracked the air, sending shockwaves through the plaza. The blow hurled Goku across the ground, skidding through debris. He sat up, brushed the dust off his shoulders, and grinned. Lucky punch. Everyone nearby stared in disbelief. He's fast, Goku thought, but I'm faster. Kizaru appeared before him again, his legs swinging down in a beam of golden light. But before it connected, Goku vanished. Whoosh! He reappeared behind the Admiral, thrusting his fist forward. But it passed straight through him, scattering light particles everywhere. For a brief second, Goku thought he had hurt him, but then realized his hand was glowing with pure energy, not blood. He propelled himself backward, smirking. That's an amazing ability you've got there. Kizaru tilted his head, intrigued. You're quite something yourself. Who are you? I'm Goku, he said, planting his feet and charging his ki. Blue energy flared around his hands like wildfire. And if a normal punch doesn't work, then let's see how you handle one coated in my own energy. With a loud crack, Goku shot forward like a cannonball. His fist collided with Kizaru's chest before the Admiral could react. Kizaru's eyes widened in pain and disbelief as the energy-coated punch blasted him through the air, smashing him into a building. The explosion left a giant hole in the wall, smoke billowing out. Coughing, Kizaru floated back out, eyes narrowed. How did he do that? That didn't feel like hockey. It was something else entirely. Whatever it is, it's dangerous. Before he could recover, Goku flickered again, appearing right in front of him. With a blinding uppercut, he sent the Admiral crashing back through the same hole, the force shaking the entire fortress. This time, Kizaru didn't rise. He slumped, unconscious among the rubble. Goku landed lightly on the shattered street below, energy still humming around him. His blood was pumping. This battlefield was filled with strong opponents, and he couldn't wait to test himself against them all. I can't believe how strong everyone is here, he said with a grin. If the Shichibukai are even half as powerful, this is going to be fun. He was so focused on the excitement that he didn't notice the sharp gleam of steel slicing toward him. Clang! A blade flashed, barely missing his neck. Goku twisted away, but not fast enough. The strike sliced across his arm, drawing a shallow cut. He landed, gripping his arm and looking up. The swordsman before him stood tall, his gaze calm yet piercing, a black coat flowing behind him, his enormous sword gleaming like death itself. It was Dracul Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. That was too close, Goku muttered, inspecting the cut. It wasn't deep. The wound barely scratched him. Guess I'm tougher than I thought. Mihawk's eyes narrowed slightly, intrigued that his blade hadn't cleaved straight through. Then, Goku noticed movement behind him. One by one, 5 more figures stepped into view, each radiating a unique, menacing aura. So these must be the Shichibukai Hancock told me about, Goku said under his breath. A tall man in a flamboyant pink feathered coat stepped forward, grinning with sharp teeth behind stylish sunglasses. Don Quixote do Flamingo. Just who are you? Doflamingo asked, his tone playful but dangerous. Goku stayed silent for a moment, studying each of them. He could feel their energy, strong, refined, deadly. These were no ordinary fighters. Oi! Doflamingo barked again, his grin fading. Did you not hear me? I asked. Who the hell are you? Goku simply smiled and cracked his knuckles, the air trembling around him. I'm Son Goku, and I heard that you 6 are called the Shichibukai, right? Goku asked, his tone calm, but his aura already flaring faintly around him. Doflamingo tilted his sunglasses, smirking. That's right. And if you know what's good for you, you'll start walking away now. We're the strongest beings this world has ever seen, he declared, his voice echoing arrogantly across the battlefield. But Goku just grinned, eyes sharp with excitement. Strongest, huh? Then how about this? All 6 of you fight me at once. I just want to test your strength, but be warned. His expression hardened, his tone dropping to something far more serious. "I won't be holding back." The 6 Shichibukai froze for a moment, then burst out laughing. "You want to fight all 6 of us at the same time?" Doflamingo barked, clutching his stomach in laughter. Honestly, how stupid can one man be? "Please," he said, waving to the others with a confident smirk. "Let me handle this one myself." The others, Mihawk, Kuma, Crocodile, Moria, Hancock, and Jinbei, simply nodded, watching curiously. Doflamingo's grin widened. In an instant, he blurred forward, strings of razor-sharp threads sparking around his fingers. He swung, aiming to slice straight through Goku's face. But Goku vanished. "What?" Doflamingo stumbled, confused, scanning the battlefield. Then a calm voice spoke from behind him. "Like I said before." Goku's tone was low, confident. "I'm not going easy on you, so you better come at me with everything you've got." He stood facing away from the group, arms crossed, the wind tugging at his orange gi, radiating power in that effortlessly cool, don't mess with me kind of way. The Shichibukai exchanged uneasy glances. All around them, the war had stopped. Pirates and Marines alike turned to stare at the lone fighter, challenging 6 of the most powerful warriors in the world. Even Whitebeard himself let out a small chuckle, impressed by the sheer courage, or madness, of the man standing there. As Goku and the Shichibukai faced off, the air grew heavier, the ground trembling beneath their feet. But before Goku could move, a familiar voice rang out. "Stop!" Boa Hancock ran forward, her heart pounding, tears welling in her eyes. She spread her arms wide in front of Goku, blocking his path. The crowd gasped. No one dared to stand between a warrior and a Shichibukai showdown, let alone defy someone like Goku. Goku's expression didn't change at first, but deep inside, he was angry, not at Hancock, but at what the Marines and the world government had become. Once, he thought they stood for justice and balance. Now, all he could see was corruption, power used to oppress, not protect. "Hancock," he said in a stern, low voice. "Move!" She shook her head, standing firm. "I said move." His tone grew sharper. "No." Goku's jaw tightened. "Hancock." "I said no," she cried, trembling but resolute. "Get out of my way, Hancock," Goku roared. His voice exploded through the air like thunder, shaking the entire plaza. Even the Shichibukai felt a chill run down their spines. The shockwave from his shout cracked the ground beneath them. But Hancock didn't move. Her hands trembled, but she stayed standing, tears welling up in her eyes. "I won't let you throw your life away just to fight them," she shouted, pointing toward the Shichibukai. "You're not going to stop me," Goku said coldly, stepping forward. Then, slap! The sound echoed across Marineford. Hancock had struck him. The entire battlefield froze. Even Goku himself stood motionless, stunned by what just happened. She was shaking, her hand still in the air, her breath uneven, her eyes filled with pain. "If you want to get to them," she said through gasps, "you'll have to kill me first." Goku blinked, speechless. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "If you want to fight them so badly, then you'll have to destroy me," she screamed, her voice cracking under the weight of her emotions. For a moment, Goku's eyes softened, returning to their gentle warmth. But then they flickered again, cold, determined. He slowly raised his hand, energy beginning to swirl in his palm, forming a small, glowing sphere. Everyone around watched in horror. Hancock's breath hitched. She closed her eyes, bracing herself for the attack. But instead, whoosh! Goku darted forward faster than anyone could see and wrapped his arms around her. Hancock gasped, her whole body going still as his warmth enveloped her. "I'm sorry," he whispered softly into her ear. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Hancock. I know this must be hard, but please, let me do this." Hancock trembled in his embrace, her heart racing. She looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "But Goku, what will Luffy and I do if you die?" Her voice cracked. "We need you. I need you." Her last words came out as a muffled sob as she buried her face against his chest. Goku smiled gently, lifting her chin with one finger so she'd look at him. "You don't need to worry about me," he said softly. "My passion, my reason for fighting, is to protect everyone I care about. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me alive. I won't fall to them." He tilted his head toward the 6 Shichibukai. "Not now. Not ever." Hancock wiped her tears and managed a small, trembling smile. "Then promise me something, Goku." "What is it?" "Promise me you'll come back to us." Goku grinned, that same warm, fearless smile that made even gods respect him. "That's a promise I can keep." Hancock nodded, blushing through her tears. "Then, here's my token of appreciation." She leaned forward and kissed him gently on the cheek. Her face turned scarlet immediately, and she looked away shyly, smiling. Goku chuckled softly, scratching his head. Then he turned to face the Shichibukai once more, his energy flaring like a rising sun. "Sorry about that," he said, cracking his neck as the ground beneath him trembled. "Now!" His expression hardened, eyes blazing with excitement. "Where were we?" And that's it for today's episode, guys. If you watched to the end, then that could be an indication that you enjoy the series. So please leave a like on the video. Thank you and take care.